Hi, I'm Daniel, and this is my 2024 Tesla Model 3 long range.
Excellent.
Your clothes, give them to me. I'll be back.
This is the very first video on my channel, and I wanted to start this channel for a long time to share my everyday experiences, traveling, hobbies, and some car content. And I really hope you will enjoy this journey together with me, as I'm going to speak about why this specific car is the ultimate petrolhead's car. For years, I was a huge BMW fan. I really liked most of their cars, especially for the design, for the performance, for the agility. I have driven quite many models, and especially the 3 Series, and I was pretty convinced that my next car will be a BMW 3 Series. Well, it would have been a Porsche, but unfortunately I didn't have the budget for it. And honestly, back then I shared a pretty common attitude towards EVs. I thought they are boring, they are soulless. I just thought that people buy EVs to save money and maybe to show that they are really environmentally concerned. But that has changed within a single moment when I test drove my first EV. Just for fun, I decided to test drive a Tesla Model 3 because there was just a local dealership nearby, and I signed up for a test drive. And I didn't really have any high expectations at the moment. But then, when I first drove the car, I just realized that it has everything that BMW has to offer, and even something more. So in this video, I'm not treating this as some kind of an EV experiment. I just want to share with you my raw experience of owning this car and driving this car. I would like to show you this car inside and out. And there are just so many videos on specs and range, but actually what matters the most is what you feel when you are sitting behind that steering wheel. So, without further ado, let's jump there and go for a drive. We are starting in the city area and we'll move to a highway soon. And as most other EVs, this Model 3 feels right at home in the city environment. And as you can see, using the turn signal buttons on the steering wheel is not such a big problem as many people say on the internet. Well, at least for me. Also, this annoying beeping sound is due to the new safety regulations in Europe. So if you exceed the set speed limit, the car will make this annoying chime sound and you have to turn it off. It will reset when you start a new drive, so you have to turn it off pretty much every single time you get into the car. So that's quite annoying in my opinion. The car is really quiet. They have worked on the sound insulation compared to the previous generation, and it feels really silent in my opinion. Alright, so now we're turning to the highway. And the highway speeds in Finland are usually limited to 120 kilometers per hour, but this specific highway is actually set to 80 kilometers per hour limit. The acceleration to any highway speed is a breeze in this long-range model. Well, no surprise, because it does 0 to 100 in just 4.4 seconds, and what's more important, once you're already going, any press of the pedal is instantly picked up by the electric motor. So the car is extremely agile. And once you're on the highway, the ride feels very firm, but not overly. I would say it's reassuring, and I always feel that I have a control over every car's movement. All the inputs are almost perfectly translated from the steering wheel to the wheels, and the amount of the feedback is also quite surprising for this class and this size of the car. Although the car's weight is about 1800 kilos, it feels much lighter than that. You can only feel an added weight in situations when I believe it's actually an advantage. For example, when the car goes over the bumps or when you're driving on a very windy day. So the highway ride is really where the car shines and shows how significantly the improvements are over the pre-facelift Model 3. The improved sound insulation and double glass makes the cabin feel relaxing and pleasant to be in. The steering is predictable with plenty of feedback, so you kind of always know what your wheels are driving over. And that kind of is good and allows you to better plan and adapt to any driving situation. The suspension has also been changed and improved over the previous generation. Now they use the new frequency response dampers that make suspension respond to the changes in the road surface. Effectively, it makes the suspension softer over rougher roads and harder on even surfaces or over the small bumps. Also, as far as I know, the springs, the steering knuckles and some other suspension components have been reworked completely compared to the previous generation, which makes this car really drive very nicely. I would say it even punches in a class above itself. And since I had the chance to compare the previous generation to this one pretty much side by side, I can tell you that the difference is very significant. Now I'll be turning from a highway to a wavy countryside road, a place where we can test the steering, suspension and motor and do some kind of a spirited driving to see how the car performs and acts in those conditions. And the first thing that I can tell immediately is the great suspension balance and the low center of gravity, of course, of this car makes this car kind of a perfect car for spirited driving on any winding roads. It gives you a good pleasure even when the car is not driving on some crazy high speeds. For example, on this road the speed is limited to 60 kilometers per hour, which is pretty low, but you can still get this feeling of the car and engagement, and it's really a fun experience to drive this car on anything other than the straight highway. Also, a clever four-wheel drive system with a motor on each axle will deliver a good grip in most of the conditions, even when it's wet or snowy. I guess I might be digging too deep into the details now, but what's most important, the car is fun to drive. And it gives a good amount of driving pleasure due to the sharp response and lively ride, and of course the acceleration plays some part in that. Of course, I also want to mention some downsides. As a petrolhead, I'm definitely missing the petrol aspects of the car. The engine sounds, the smells, kind of the whole 2 out of 5 usual human senses are missing here, and if you go from a petrol car to an EV, well, you will probably miss those. Is that a problem? Well, likely not. I don't consider EVs to be kind of a replacement for traditional ICE cars. Instead, I believe that they can and they should coexist. And both ICE cars and EVs can offer a lively and exciting ride that us petrolheads just love. So I personally don't encourage snobism and would like to give my vote to this Model 3. As for its price, it delivers crazy value. I cannot really think of any good ICE competitors in that price range that would deliver such an excitement, such a great performance, such a great steering feel, and be that practical. So that's something. Another downside that comes to my mind are the tires. So those are the Michelin EV specific tires that I feel, as far as I remember, if I remember that correctly. And I feel that they are tuned for efficiency while losing points in the grip aspects. So it's quite fun, but I would love to have a choice. And for example, when ordering the car, and then I would definitely spec the traditional set of Michelin tires instead. But I believe that's enough for drive. It was short, but it was able to also show the car in different road conditions, and I hope I was clearly able to express my feelings behind the steering wheel. So without further ado, let's move on to the next section where I would like to talk a bit more about the car and tell you exactly why this car is a perfect petrolhead's car. There is a widespread opinion of electric cars being boring and unable to deliver, not being fun at all, which is often translated by some video bloggers on the YouTube. And at some point, I was sharing the same opinion after watching dozens of different videos. I just thought that electric cars are boring, they're heavy, they're basically crap. They are not like even a car that can bring you the joy of driving. And now I believe I was totally wrong. I do consider myself a car guy, as I have always been passionate about cars, about like all the modern and past days technologies and innovations that were spread in the car industry, and I have always tried to stay on top of all the new stuff and interesting things in the industry. I still know all the modern, for example, BMW engines and their most common problems and their strengths and weaknesses, and I have spent hours and hours pretty much every day on the local secondhand car stores looking for my perfect BMW or Audi car. And even though I have owned a less desirable, more simple cars in the past, I always had some joyful ownership experience, even like with 1.4-liter Volkswagen Polo car that gave me actually a lot of driving joy and pleasure in my kind of daily life. And actually, a little after that, and after having owned a couple more cars, maybe not worthy of mentioning, but still, I have had some car experience, and I was really looking for my next car purchase. It was a big thing for me because finally I decided to probably pick one of the big German trio of the famous car manufacturers. So I was looking for the BMW, Audi, or Mercedes. And well, to tell you the truth, I have always been a big BMW fan, so it was mostly a BMW car at the time. And I was really looking forward to picking up the 3 Series. I have test driven many different engine versions, and I have tried diesel, petrol, hybrid, and I have tried the saloon and the estate versions of the car. So I have spent actually hours behind the steering wheel. But the thing is that my kind of perception of the car, or maybe like the image of the car inside my head, didn't really match what I was feeling when I stepped into the car. So I didn't get that kind of spark, didn't get that excitement when I entered the car. And that was maybe a factor that didn't allow me to pull the trigger and to make a purchase decision. So I was kind of stopped, and I was still hesitant to buy this car. And at some point of time, I discovered that my local city has a Tesla dealership, and they have like this test drive program where you can just pop in and get a car for. It's not like a Tesla advertisement, which it may sound like. I'm not affiliated to Tesla or any other car brand, but at that point of time, I just thought for banter, I might just go for a test drive and check out what Tesla is, because like in a parallel universe of my life, since 2013, I kept a close eye on the EV industry and on how cars were evolving, starting from like something like BMW i3 or the Tesla Model S from back in 2013, and to what it looks just now. Like all types of cars are available with the electric motor nowadays, and they actually have a pretty good tech and pretty good range and everything. So in the past 10 years, the EV industry has taken a big step forward, in my opinion. And I was just always curious to give it a try, and I was curious to test out what kind of the EV offers and what it is. And I have never had any experience with EVs before the year 2023 when I signed up for this first test drive. And as I remember, it was a Tesla Model 3 long range, the pre facelift, so the model before that one. And I was truly blown away by how different it is. And everything that I was expecting from my kind of dream perception of the BMW 3 Series, I got that when I sat in the Tesla. And it felt quite nice inside. I cannot say that it was luxurious or it was like awesome, but it was decent enough. It kind of had this minimalist design that everyone seems to be either a lover or hater of, which I didn't mind at all. As soon as I sat in the car, I just realized that I know how to drive this thing. There are no buttons, which were kind of a surprise to me because there are no buttons in the car at all, and the touchscreen is pretty straight away, like common. It's just like using your phone or your tablet. So that was not a big problem. And as soon as I started driving, I just felt like my foot is connected to the pedal. As soon as I pressed the accelerator, the car was going right away. There is no like delay or any lag of any sort, and it was immediately connected to my foot. So I knew I had a strong connection with the car, and I could rely on it. It was nimble, it was quick, and it reacted rapidly on any of my inputs that I had. The term that I feel is really a good fit for this car is effortless. I would say that it feels really effortless to drive, it feels effortless to live with, and it feels effortless in kind of all the aspects. The acceleration is just above 4 seconds, and like it's effortless. When you need to overtake someone, it's really effortless. When you want to steer into the steep curve on the road, it's really effortless. So kind of this car is a perfect combination of all the things you would expect from a real petrolhead's car, but at the same time, it's really easy to live with on a daily basis. If it's cold outside, you can just open the application and warm up the car remotely. If it's snowing, you have the all-wheel drive system, which will pretty much take you out of most of the road conditions. For example, in Finland, and Finland maybe has one of the harshest winters on Earth. And this car just delivers in all the aspects. I cannot imagine a situation where these cars would be lacking. Maybe it doesn't have like all the space in the world. So, for example, if you have a big family of four, this car might not be enough for you. But that's pretty much everything that comes to mind. I would like to touch the topic of steering because, like, acceleration is a no-brainer. It's instant, it's quick, and the car is really fast. But when it comes to the steering, since the battery sits low in the chassis, this car feels really planted in the corners, and it's due to its relatively high mass being low in the chassis. So the battery sits kind of close to the ground. That's why the center of gravity is really kind of low, and this car feels really nimble in the corners, and it handles really well. And then this car is really quiet inside. They have done a pretty outstanding job compared to the previous generation of the car, which was pretty noisy in my opinion. So this one is much more silent thanks to the double glazed windows around the car. And day-to-day ownership is also surprisingly nice and effortless. It's really practical. You can fit a lot of stuff inside. There is the trunk, there is the second trunk below the main trunk, and there is the front. And even though the trunk opening is not as big and fitting as the Tesla Model Y, for example, it's still big enough for the saloon car. And as being a husband and a future father, I haven't yet found any problem with fitting, for example, a child seat in the car or a baby stroller or even like big carry-on suitcases.
everything fits pretty well. And for example, when we go camping, this car fits all our camping gear and even our friends' camping gear as well. So it's really well thought out daily driver which can accommodate everything. Of course, last but not least, when it comes to practicality, is charging. And many people are saying that charging is a big problem. I haven't found it to be any problem at all because I have a charging at my parking space and I live in a block of flats house which just has a basic parking spot with low-speed chargers at every single slot. So it's a pretty common thing in Finland. I cannot say for other countries, but it's not a problem at all. I just plug my car in every single evening when I need to, and in the morning I come to the car fully charged. And I would even say that before having to refuel the car took more time than having to recharge this car. So that's an interesting take. And finally, on the way how this car looks, I believe Tesla did a really outstanding job reimagining the car. It looked pretty fine, but I would say a little bit boring in the pre-facelift generation. But when I was watching the presentation for this model, I was really amazed by how the car looked. It looked so much more refined, so much more thought out, and like a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more sharp. But I really loved the looks, and especially being the BMW fan, I always loved a little bit of edge in the car's looks. And this car actually delivers that to me, no problem. And I often find myself turning around when I have parked somewhere, and then when I'm walking away from the car, I just give a last glimpse at the car. That kind of shows some level of connection and some level of love I have for this.
So overall, this car was a big surprise to me. It has delivered in all the aspects pretty incredibly, especially when it comes to sporty handling, steering, good acceleration and general driving dynamics. It has been an incredible car, and my unpopular opinion, but it's my personal opinion, could be that it performs much better and much more solid than any kind of entry-level BMW 3 Series car. I would say it pretty closely compares to a 340i car, which already aims at like a more sporty segment. So I could say that this is a very good competitor to that. If you have a charging at home option, I would even say that you should go for this car. Is it a good petrolheads car? Well, to me, petrolhead is not about a revving motor and the smell of petrol. It's just about having driving pleasure and seeking for the driving pleasure from like even basic daily drives. So I would say that to me this car is a perfect petrolheads car because it comes from kind of two worlds. The first is the practicality, efficiency, money, savings, etc. And the second is being spot-on performance, handling, power delivery, acceleration, and kind of that two packages, they connect pretty well with this Tesla Model 3, especially the long-range model, which I'm currently sitting on. So I would definitely say that to me it's an optimal petrolheads car, and maybe we should try to avoid the stigma of electric cars not being able to deliver any like joy or fun when driving. So I would rank this car definitely above many other petrol or diesel cars, which are kind of more generally considered to be fun. And well, that's kind of my opinion, my overview of the car. And if you like this video, please hit that like button down below, and this will definitely help me with the channel growth and with my future videos. If you have any different opinion, or if you agree with what I have shared today, please feel free to comment in the comment section, and I will be happy to reply to as many of your comments as I can. So thank you, thanks for staying up until the end of this video. Have a wonderful day. Peace.